They laughed the moment she stepped out of the wagon. Not small, polite laughs, no. These were harsh, pointed, cruel snickers that sliced through the cold mountain air. Women covered their mouths dramatically. Men elbowed each other. Children whispered. It was supposed to be her wedding day, the happiest day of her life. But instead of arriving like a glowing bride, she stepped onto the dirt with bare, bruised, freezing feet. Her shoes had been stolen. Her stepmother's daughters had taken them the moment she left home that morning. Mountain folk don't need fancy shoes, they'd sneered. Besides, you'll embarrass us no matter what you wear. And then they shoved her into a wagon and slammed the door. Now here she stood at the edge of a remote mountain settlement, her white dress dusty, her feet so cold she could barely stand, and her face burning with humiliation. Evelyn swallowed hard and kept her chin low. She had agreed to this arranged marriage because she had nowhere else to go. No home, no money, no family that treated her like family. The man she was to marry, a mountain man named Elias Ward, had sent for a bride through a pastor she barely knew. She didn't expect love, just shelter, safety, a roof over her head. But right now, she wished she could disappear. People clustered around the lodge, whispering. She came without shoes. Poor thing must be simple. What kind of bride shows up like that? Elias won't want her now. Evelyn's throat tightened. Her hands shook. She wanted to turn and run into the trees, away from the snickering faces, but she had nowhere else to go. The air suddenly shifted. The crowd quieted. Bootsteps echoed across the wooden porch of the lodge. Heavy, steady, slow. A tall figure emerged from the doorway, broad-shouldered, wrapped in a weathered coat lined with wolf fur, long dark hair tied back, and a thick beard that framed a strong jaw. His blue eyes, sharp as winter rivers, locked onto her instantly. Elias Ward, the mountain man she was meant to marry. He didn't look amused or embarrassed or angry. He looked furious. Not at her, but at everyone laughing. Evelyn froze, trembling as his gaze traveled from her face, down to her bare, bruised feet, then back up again. Something softened in his expression, but only for a breath. Then he stepped off the porch with long, deliberate strides that cut the crowd in half. People parted for him like he was a storm. Without a word, he stopped right in front of her. She could barely breathe under the intensity of his presence. He towered over her, not intimidating but protective, like a wall against the world. "You walked here barefoot?" he asked, voice low and gravel-deep. Evelyn opened her mouth, but the words tangled. I didn't have a choice." His jaw clenched. She expected him to be disgusted, ashamed, to send her away. Instead, he bent down. Before she could react, Elias scooped her into his arms, one arm beneath her knees, one behind her back, his strength lifting her effortlessly off the frozen ground. Gasps rippled through the crowd, whispering stopped. A few women actually blushed. Evelyn's breath caught. Mr. Ward." "Elias," he corrected without looking away from her. "And don't you ever bow your head like you're not worth something." Her heart thudded painfully. She wasn't used to kindness, especially not from a stranger, especially not from a man like him, with eyes that seemed to see right through her shame. He addressed the crowd without raising his voice, but the tone alone silenced everyone. "Laugh again," he said, "and you won't like what happens next." Not a single person moved. Elias carried her up the steps inside the warm wooden lodge. The smell of pine, firewood, and fresh bread hit her instantly. A massive fireplace crackled inside. He set her gently on a long bench near the fire, then kneeling in front of her. He wrapped a thick fur around her legs and feet. "No bride of mine," he said quietly, "will ever be cold." Evelyn's eyes stung with tears she tried desperately to hide. The warmth from the fire crept up her skin, and so did warmth from something deeper, something she hadn't felt in years. He stood, removed his coat, and draped it over her shoulders. She was swallowed in its comforting weight. You said you didn't have a choice, Elias murmured. You do now. He turned to face her fully. Do you want this marriage, Evelyn, truly, even if you came here with nothing? She lifted her gaze to his. I came here with nothing, she said softly, but I hoped for a chance. His features softened for the first time. Then you'll have more than a chance. He extended his hand. You'll have a home. Her breath trembled. Slowly she placed her hand in his. He didn't let go. The pastor appeared beside them, clearing his throat nervously. Shall we begin the ceremony? Elias didn't take his eyes off her. Yes. The ceremony was simple, honest. No flowers, no music, no grand decorations. Just the fire crackling, their hands joined, and his deep voice repeating vows with absolute certainty. When the pastor said, "You may kiss the bride," Evelyn nearly pulled away in embarrassment. But Elias didn't force her. He simply leaned down and pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead, one full of respect, not possession. Gasps came from the doorway where the villagers had gathered silently, watching. A tear slipped down Evelyn's cheek. She wiped it quickly, but Elias saw. You don't have to hide tears here, he whispered. Not from me. After the ceremony, he carried her again, ignoring anyone watching, and brought her to their new home on the hill behind the lodge. A warm cabin, lit with lanterns, with pelts covering the floor and shelves he had built with his own hands. When he set her down, she whispered, "Why are you being so kind to me? You don't even know me." Elias stepped closer. "I know enough." "What do you know?" she breathed. "That you walked into a strange mountain town alone. That you didn't break when they laughed. That you still stood tall, even without shoes. That you're stronger than anyone out there." Evelyn's chest tightened painfully. "No one ever said something like that to me." Elias touched her cheek lightly, as if afraid she might vanish. "Get used to it," he murmured, "because I'm not going anywhere." Evelyn finally let the tears fall, not from sadness, but from something warm, safe, and new. Outside, the mountain wind howled. Inside, she felt, perhaps for the first time, protected. In the town that had laughed, they would soon learn their mountain man never did anything halfway. Least of all, loving his bride.